Jurors recently broke down in tears when they were forced to learn about Ethereum, and all I have to say is, same, guys, same. But more on that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents, the weekly podcast about everything that's important to know in crypto and blockchain. Brought to you by people that are actually working in crypto and blockchain. No FOMO, no shilling. Just everything you need to know to get better at crypto. Think of us like your personal sommelier, just serving you up the tastiest bits of crypto. I'm your host, Vince, and today I'm joined by our resident degen, Kale.
Yo.
And Katya from the Mew team.
Yep.
All right, so I was a very emphatic yo right there. We'll talk about jurors in a little bit. Let's kick things off instead by talking about Bitcoin. So Square just released Bitcoin support for millions of vendors overnight. So now anyone can use Bitcoin to pay using Cash App and Tap to Pay. And we've already seen a bunch of confusion about this, right? A lot of people being like, well, I don't have a full Bitcoin. And they're like, well, you can pay with a part of a Bitcoin. And then everyone's like, what's that called? And then they're like, sats or Satoshis. So I've seen a lot of like confusion about this, but also it's cool to kind of see that it is working well to pay with crypto. But Kale, you're a degen. Talk to me about this.
I love to see it. I am in the camp where like I feel like Bitcoin, there's like a pretty good chance Bitcoin may have been co-opted by governments in 2017 because like I feel like Bitcoin, its main use case, right, is a currency. You send it from peer to peer, country to country, no middleman. But around 2017, like with the whole Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash thing, Bitcoin itself became more of like a store of value and expensive to use. And people don't really use it as a currency as much anymore. And I feel like at that point, the whole Bitcoin like cypherpunk vision kind of died because the Bitcoin's biggest strength against the current system is that like we don't need your money, like we can use Bitcoin as money. And so like from 2017ish until now, we've kind of been moving away from that, and Bitcoin has been a store of value. But things like this, where Jack Dorsey is like, no, Bitcoin is cash, like use Bitcoin to buy things, use Bitcoin to transact. It brings a lot of the whole cypherpunk values, for lack of words, back into the mix, which I love because that's like a huge reason I got into crypto in the first place, just to like feed my rebellious spirit. I'm like, no, go Bitcoin.
Fight the system.
Yeah. And so things like this I love to see because it's like this is what crypto was made for.
Interesting. And it's funny because I have never heard of anything but a store of value for Bitcoin. Like I wasn't into Bitcoin. It never like really like jived with me because I only ever heard of it as a store of value that was expensive to move. But yeah, that is interesting.
Exactly. And like, especially with that whole mindset of it being like digital gold, people are incentivized to like buy it and hold it. People don't want to spend it because people have it in their head that like, oh, I'm going to buy this and in 10 years it's going to be worth more. So like they don't want to spend it. So like that whole dynamic is weird. But just like seeing people use Bitcoin as a currency is really cool.
But more importantly, how did the government co-opt it?
Dude, don't get me started. Roger Ver, bro. How do you say that guy's name? Roger, you know who I'm talking about? Ver or Ver?
I'm gonna leave you on this ledge for you to struggle. So
no, it's just I don't know like the right words to say without sounding like a complete idiot. But yeah, dude, just like learn about Roger Ver and that whole thing because I only started looking into it like a few months ago, because I wasn't in crypto in 2017. But from what I've heard, there's some like very sus things that happen where basically like there were powerful people competing on to like who's gonna be the people who control the Bitcoin code, and the wrong people won.
I mean, I guess I'm gonna have to start my own investigation. I guess I'll go get some tinfoil after this call. But Katya, talk to me about paying for stuff with Bitcoin. Because you've been paid in Bitcoin. You're the only person on here that has been paid in Bitcoin.
Forgot about that.
Can neither confirm nor deny whether this was actually the case on this podcast.
You've talked about it on this podcast.
But what I think is interesting about this Square thing, this new thing, is that vendors. So it works for 4 ways. Like it can be Bitcoin to fiat, fiat to fiat, Bitcoin to Bitcoin, fiat to Bitcoin. So the vendor can choose if somebody pays them in Bitcoin, they can choose to keep it in Bitcoin, of course, custodial in Square, of course, but still keep it in Bitcoin, or convert it to fiat on the spot, and vice versa. If somebody is paying them fiat, then they can choose either to, normally fiat to fiat, or they can have it converted to Bitcoin and keep the Bitcoin in their Square wallet. And I think they could also determine the percentage of how much they want. So I think that's interesting because aside from facilitating payments in Bitcoin to people who have Bitcoin and want to pay in it, it can also potentially increase the onboarding of people into Bitcoin, because if they're paying you anyway and you can just choose to keep it in Bitcoin, then maybe you will, because you're like, fiat is fiat, and if anything, it loses value because of inflation. But what if I just keep this that he's paying me in, and maybe it rises in value, maybe it's a better deal. So I think it does have potential to onboard more people into Bitcoin. But I guess I think the good thing about this is that it works whether you see Bitcoin as payments or whether you see Bitcoin as gold. You can choose like how you're gonna treat it. And what it makes me think of also, like when you were talking about how like it started as payments and then digital, and like people are not treating it as payments. Recently Bitcoin has been kind of experiencing a little bit of like Ethereum envy and wanting to be more DeFi, and kind of, I guess some people are feeling like it's missing out because it doesn't have DeFi. And then there are others in the community who say, we don't want to deal with content. We don't want to deal with all of that. We don't want to be part of questionable content on the blockchain. We want to stay pure. And I'm not sure which side of the debate I'm there on, but I think this could be a good way for Bitcoin to stay. Like if it becomes more adopted as a payment system and also more adopted as a store of value at the same time, because you can choose how you interact with it. Maybe that'll be enough, because one of the things that happens is that like Bitcoin is not having enough transactions to incentivize miners, etc. Maybe more transactions on Bitcoin for the initial purpose that it was made for payments will kind of solve that problem without them having to become DeFi, which is a long and road
Arduous
with a lot
task.
of arduous task with a lot of questions, for
Yeah.
Bitcoin specifically. So that's
That's a
something
great point.
This kind of going back to the confusion bit that I've seen, I think it's really interesting that like, a lot of thought was put into the name Bitcoin. You can find the old forum posts about where they were like, should we call it boob coin or tit coin to try and get more hype around it? But then no thought into the parts of Bitcoin, having a more accessible name than Satoshi's. Like I'm just like, come on, we could have thought a little bit something better to call these.
For real.
Like,
yeah. Speaking
the thing is,
of that confusion thing,
it's weird. That's another thing that I thought. It's weird of them to lean so much into Satoshis, because, for instance, I think you can be in crypto for months or years before you learn that Bitcoin has smaller partitions called Satoshis. I think I learned about Satoshis like a year or more after I started. I mean, granted, I was mainly in the Ethereum ecosystem, but still. And more time passed before I learned that sats and Satoshis are the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of weird for them to lean so much into it and be like Satoshis, because nobody recognizes what that means outside of crypto, not everyone in crypto. So like, I think it's weird for them to like lean on it so much.
Yeah.
And I think there's a smaller unit, right?
If
I'm
there
pretty
is, that's news to me.
I think
I'm
it's
sure
the
there is, but
smallest.
goddamn.
No, like I thought Sats were the smallest too, but I think recently maybe it's not like finalized yet, or maybe somebody was just trolling. But I'm pretty like I swear I saw something about like there's one smaller than Sats now. So
Interesting. I
yeah,
don't see.
now I want
We
to look
don't even
into it.
know.
But speaking of naming stuff, let's talk about ICOs, because who doesn't love the name of coin, right? So Coinbase is trying to bring back the ICO boom. I think is kind of the short of it. So as we're recording this on November 12th, next week, Monday, Coinbase is launching their ICO platform, with the first token of Monad. And so as we kind of look at this, it's interesting because they're doing this to stop sniping, they're doing this to stop bots, and it's going to work just like an IPO allocation, where you put in a request for a certain amount of tokens, and then you may or may not get those. And I, for one, think this is really cool. I think this is kind of like bringing the ICOs to the broader masses. I think it's going to enable people to do some interesting research on these projects, and kind of move some of the crypto around in somewhat interesting ways. But Katya, what are your thoughts on this? You were here back in the ICO boom.
I mean, technically, I hesitate to say that I was really here because I didn't buy anything any ICO into any ICO. I was aware of it going on, but I wasn't knowledgeable enough back then to do anything about it. I read. What I do like is that they have this reverse allocation thing at
Mhm.
Coinbase, where smaller orders are filled first and going up. So it's kind of like taking in the little guy first, and then when those are filled, then the big, which is the opposite of what usually happens, I think, in token sales. And so they are trying to, and the other thing is that they are people who sell the ICO tokens before 30 days are going to be disincentivized going forward. They may receive smaller allocations, or be approved for smaller allocations going forward. So this way, they want to incentivize people who are buying for the protocol as opposed to for speculation. So I think those are both good things. Like Coinbase is centralized, and I don't think anything prevents you from doing that on chain. Like you can do that through contracts, but that's what hasn't happened before, because I think we all know that most ICOs were just like a money grab.
Wild West.
Yeah, a money grab or a rug pull, so nobody cared whether like there was. But I think Coinbase is on the right track here, trying to build the right kind of community incentives around ICOs. This is what we were talking about the other day when they bought this platform, and they're saying now that like this ICO launch has no relation to Kobe and all. I'm like, what? Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, like they're like
Sure,
completely
guys.
separate. But when we were talking about that a few episodes back, and we were saying how like hopefully this time around the ICO, maybe there will be a hype, but it will be different. I think this is part of it, like that it's not just money grabs and rug pulls. There's like mechanics around it that try to make sure that it is what it was meant to be. Open access to people who have less funds to spend on it but are interested, and make them stay with the protocol, which is good for the ecosystem. So.
Yeah, I have a series of rebuttals, but I want to hear from Kale first.
I mean, I'm overall a fan of it. The one thing I like don't like, but this is just me like nitpicking, is I think they have like some kind of KYC implemented. Like,
Well,
For
yeah,
sure.
to get on Coinbase,
Yeah.
you have to have a KYC.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
yeah, no, but I mean, like to participate like in this specifically, the ICOs, you need to like do some verification, which is like, of course, it's fine and it's to be expected. It's like, yeah, obviously it's Coinbase, but yeah, I mean, other than that, I think it's like a super cool thing. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I won't do it. I won't use it personally because I would have to like go through a KYC process and like,
And you're
if
already
I'm-
Kraken, so
no, yeah, I am, but it's like, if I'm going to be participating in an ICO, I'd rather do it like privately.
Interesting.
And I guess, yeah, now that I'm like speaking about it out loud, like I guess there's no reason for me to like want to do it privately. I just feel like if I am going to do something like that, it's like institutions and these KYC people and that company and Nike and Adidas and Starbucks, like all these people don't need to know that I'm participating in the ICO, you know? So that part I kind of like don't like, but yeah, I mean, of course
I
it's
mean,
going to be there, you know, it's like a huge centralized exchange.
I also get it because it's like, you know, if it's not on a centralized platform, there's more opportunity, I think, for a moon mission just because you can get in early. And then when
That
broader
too.
liquidity is provided, then, you know, number go up maybe.
That too. And I also feel like the KYC can be gamed. Because like even though that they're like allowing the small guppies to like get their orders filled first, it's like I know that there exists an option where people can like buy fake identities. Be like, okay, I have 100 fake identities and I'm buying 10K on each of them, and I'm getting like I'm buying as much as like a pretty big business, but I'm getting my orders filled before them. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like I appreciate the KYC
I didn't
and all
even
that, but
think of that. I am such like I have such a non-criminal mind. Like you're absolutely right, but like that didn't even occur to me.
yeah. So I mean, I do like I appreciate all the incentives. It is cool to see, and I like that they're making it easier. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like not really a fan of KYC.
I think it's okay. So now to my rebuttals. I think it's a cool idea. I think a lot of the stuff that Katya flagged as like, ooh, this is good, is a bunch of marketing hype nonsense. There is no way that they are actually going to enforce anyone that flips coins. I think they're just going to be like, great, thanks for your trading fee there, bruh.
That too.
You
Like
know,
I think that's cool, but yeah, I would be surprised.
there's no way that they're going to enforce that. They want you to ape in and ape out and ape in again. Like
The more the better, right?
the more the better. You know, and I also think, you know, and I just saw this morning because I am going to YOLO 100 USDC at this just to try the platform for benchmarking. If you are a subscriber to their Coinbase One, which is like $30 a month, you can request 5x more tokens than anyone else.
What?
So up to $500,000 for $30 a month, you can request $500,000 of Monad. And that's, you know, again, like they may offer a lot of lip service that it's going to be like, yeah, the small guppies get some, sure, but maybe you only get like $10 worth of your $100 allocation because they've got some whales they got to please. Because could you imagine if you're like, oh yeah, I'll pay my $30 a month and then you get like $10 of your requested 250K, I would be apoplectic.
Yeah, and those are the customers they need to keep happy over the guppies, for sure.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited because I could see them positioning themselves as anti-pump fun, which I think could be really fun to see. Like, yeah, you can go gamble on insane projects over here, but we've got this where we're actually doing meaningful work and knocking over our microphones.
Getting excited over the Coinbase ICOs.
I mean,
ever since I went to Italy, I just tend to talk with my hands more. It's infectious.
Yeah, no, I agree. That'll be a cool angle, and I can totally see Coinbase attacking it like that. You know, like degens go over there. Like,
yeah,
we're doing institutional ICOs. We're in
it for the tech over here, maybe. But
speaking
also,
about institutional ICOs, though, are you like? Oh yeah, you said you are going to try it though, just to try it. You're not you're not a Monad bull.
I don't know a single thing about Monad besides like clicking on their Twitter link in the Coinbase app to be like, I want to see their Twitter.
I looked at the distribution, and then like it's like 38%. They're selling like something 4 billion tokens. I think
I have it right here. I'll tell you.
Yeah, 0.025.
They're offering 7.5% of the supply.
Yeah, but
total
like
available 187 million USDC.
That's the 7%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're holding like 38% like back, which I tried to do a little math and it was like 950 million for the development of the ecosystem, and then like like 650 million for the team USD. I'm saying this is calculated from the price, and so I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like that's another reason I'm like, because it's like Monad specifically. I'm like, swerve, dude. I'm not gonna do that.
I mean,
Well-
from a marketing and user retention perspective, like if all of these people are excited to try this new feature in Coinbase and then they all end up losing money, no one's ever going to try the next ICO, right?
Great point.
So
They might be shooting themselves in the foot with this.
I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see, and I just want to see what the flow's like, and for me,
Well,
I think it's interesting.
they're all people are saying that everybody is expecting the base ICO, and they're like, well, if they're gonna do it, of course they're gonna do it on Coinbase. So
Good point. I
True.
wonder if this is just like a test run for base.
Maybe. But speaking of test runs, you know who's going all in? It's SoFi. They just launched crypto trading for retail investors. I am not a SoFi user, but I know plenty of people that are. Their app kind of sucks, is kind of my thought. But Kale, talk to me about SoFi. I think I know what you're going to say, but is this good to see SoFi taking up crypto?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a nothing burger for me because like I'll never use SoFi or a crypto bank. I would rather just keep my stuff on chain. But like SoFi specifically, I'm like, I swear to God, I've seen this headline before. Like
2 years ago, they were launching, and then I guess the regulatory whatever they paused or stopped or whatever. So you're not wrong.
okay.
This has come through before, but so this is a relaunch for real now. I think because the regulatory landscape changed so much.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah, because no, I was gonna say, I swear I remember like reading this exact thing a couple of years ago. Like SoFi is like introducing crypto stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. And then it's like, yeah, it's the same exact headline 2 years later. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of a nothing burger to me, but like overall, probably net positive because there is, there's a lot of people who don't want to deal with doing stuff directly on chain. So
Yeah.
I mean, for those people, like, good for you guys.
I also wonder if, and this conversation has kind of come up a lot, like mixing crypto in with your own other kind of investment vehicles and financial apps. And I, for one, am always one that likes to keep these pockets separate. I don't necessarily need to see all of my assets in one super financial app. That just feels strange to me. But I think, with Fidelity offering crypto and stuff like that, allegedly there are a bunch of people that do like that. But Katya, you don't like that. Talk to me about what you think about SoFi.
I mean, I think whether or not you're or I like that, I think that's going to be the normal. So
Yeah.
honestly, I think the only remarkable thing about this is that it is technically the first national bank, nationally licensed bank that is doing it, because Robinhood and Coinbase are not banks.
Right.
They're centralized institutions, but they're not national banks, right?
Hmm.
But so that's the only really remarkable thing about it. But I don't think for long, because I think Charles Schwab and some anyway, there are people, institutions in line to introduce the same thing, that are licensed banks, and they're going to have crypto trading for retail in the apps. It's a matter of time. I don't even think a long time. And on the other hand, institutions like Coinbase and others are waiting on banking licenses. So I think regardless of what you or I think of this or anybody else, it's all going to be like that. They're all going to have both uh, bank accounts essentially, and broker accounts and crypto accounts in the same app. It's all going to be the same thing, except probably different incentives or whatever your personal preference is. But I think it's just all going in that direction, and I'm kind of I don't know, I'm bored by it already. like in the sense that maybe there will be more. I mean, maybe it's good, like a tide that lifts all boats. It's good for everyone that there will be more adoption. But from a point of view of I got into crypto not because it's finance, but because it's tech that has the potential to be life-changing tech for human life experience. finance is part of it, but it's not all of it. And
Mhm.
so from the point of view of crypto being tech and exciting tech, like this is not it. This is not what excites me.
Yeah. What I am going to be really intrigued by is their next kind of like earnings call when they kind of have to report on what kind of adoption they're seeing. Because we all talk about the financial super apps, but I wonder what the crossover actually is in kind of these more old institutions. And it's crazy to say SoFi is old because that was like one of the first fintechs. Um, but yeah, just because I wonder what kind of crossover are people going to be like, here's my emergency fund, but then let me YOLO some of it in Ethereum.
Yeah, like I'm curious how this affects them moving into the future, because it's like obviously they're doing this. SoFi Bank is doing this because they feel like it's beneficial and advantageous to them. But then, like Katya was saying a minute ago, it's like the Charles Schwabs, the JP Morgans, the Bank of Americas, like it's only a matter of time before all those players enter,
Yeah.
So like, and I've never heard of SoFi Bank until like today, and then the last time that they
You
were
lived in
introducing crypto.
California. You lived
Weren't
in
they?
California.
Weren't they
SoFi
one of
Stadium. What
the?
is it
Dude,
you want about,
don't go
dude?
outside.
No, weren't they one of the first or the first to name like an arena after themselves? Weren't they like known for that? I
Oh,
think
I
No,
wouldn't
what do
know.
you
SoFi
mean? Like,
Stadium.
yeah. What did
I
you
mean,
think the Staples Center was named after?
the store, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but like, what is
Staples
SoFi?
definitely predates SoFi.
I mean, I didn't know they changed it to SoFi Stadium.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't realize until Staples Center got bought by Crypto.com that it was named after Staples, the Staples store.
But yeah, I mean, anyway, the point I'm making is like these guys are so off my radar, and it's like I wonder, like, is this actually like helping them in the future? Like, is this going to help them, take first or second or third place over the Charles Schwabs and the Bank of Americas? Like,
No,
probably
I think
not.
I think this is a matter of not falling behind as opposed to getting ahead, because there are enough options now that nobody is going to switch their bank to SoFi because this is the
Yeah.
only bank that
Yeah.
lets you trade crypto, because it's all coming. And if you feel so strongly about it, you can trade crypto on a centralized exchange so I don't think anybody is going to switch to SoFi because, I need to trade crypto in my bank, and this is the only one that allows it for the next 2 weeks. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
But I
that
think
makes sense.
this does raise the question of like, how are the normies going to react to crypto? Because that brings us to our last story, where we have a bunch of jurors who are hearing a case about an Ethereum MEV sandwich attack, and were forced to learn about Ethereum. And in the reports coming out of it, they had sleepless nights, tears in their eyes about trying to learn about this technology. Talk to me about this, Katya.
this is honestly like my favorite thing ever, like not only this week's news but for a while. I mean, what happened was that they in the end they had to stop the trial because the jury was like, we cannot take this anymore, we cannot come to a decision, and the judge agreed and basically said giving them more time will not result in any kind of other outcome. I mean, I understand, because if I had, well, the question that they had to judge on, I think ultimately, is was these defendants, was them using MEV attacks, which is a thing that the Ethereum blockchain permits. Like they're working always to they're introducing changes that will reduce or eventually eliminate MEV opportunities. But for a long time, it was like the biggest thing. Remember, we went to conferences like a few years back, and MEV was like
All
the
you heard
biggest
about.
thing, everything. Yeah. Basically, the decision they had to make is whether using the capability of the blockchain that existed to kind of to orchestrate these attacks and extract this value was a crime or not, whether it was stealing or not. It's because the blockchain does allow this. It allows miners to structure blocks in a way that will be more beneficial to them. And MEV is a variation on that theme. So honestly, if somebody put a gun to my head and told me like, you have to decide whether this was a crime or not, I would probably cry as well. Like, because I would be like, well, but even though like I kind of know what it is, like I'm not coming from zero, like I would be hard pressed to say like, is it a shitty thing to do? Are they assholes? Absolutely. But is it a crime? I don't know. So like I understand that. And if you're coming from zero, like I
cannot imagine.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
Dude, I love it. I'm like kind of I have to share the same sentiment as Katya, because like, yeah, like being in crypto myself for like 5+ years, I don't even know really how MEV works, you know? So like, yeah, and I feel like I'm very experienced. Like I would consider myself experienced in crypto. Like I know a lot of like random things about crypto, but like MEV, like I don't know. Like yeah, I can't explain the first thing about MEV. So yeah, I think it's hilarious that they got like these random people that know nothing about crypto, and they're like, "Here, guys, like, figure out the MEV sandwich attacks." So yeah, I would have ended up like crying and all the things as well.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable to me also that jurors do often have to evaluate things that they're not initially familiar with, because they're, you know,
That's like the whole
if somebody's
point, right?
talking about like murder, you know, when they're expert testimony on financial things, on biology things, if it's murder, you know, like they have to hear expert testimony all the time. And you don't hear about people like breaking down in tears because they're like, I don't want to hear this like doctor talking about like the time of death anymore, you know, like that's more or less kind of expected, but this just seems to be in a different category by itself.
It's funny because I was called for jury duty, and we got to the like final selection room where there were, you know, about 100 of us, and then they started talking about the case as they were going to interview the different jurors, and a woman burst into tears and was escorted out because it was a murder case. And she got
That's the
burst
move.
into tears when she found out that it was, you know, a murder of a young woman. And they're like, whoop, get her out of here.
Dude, that's the move. I'm just gonna pull that every time I don't want
I
to do jury
just
duty.
burst into tears.
Start crying.
But yeah, it's got to be so incredibly hard to find jurors, period. But then find jurors that are smart enough to try and get on board this cutting edge technology.
Who aren't biased.
Who aren't biased and can like understand like the incredible nuances and tech here. And it makes me wonder like how many, you know, criminal cases of the early internet were, you know, mistrialed because people were just like, it's a series of tubes. I got nothing. You know.
Good question. You know that the MEV sandwich attack that the whole court case was based around was like two dudes MEV sandwiching like other MEV bots,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
It was MEV all the way down.
Yeah. It was like literal crypto bros. It was two brothers, and they stole 25 million from other MEV bots.
And I read somewhere in 12 seconds.
Yeah. Just like that's just how it goes. They took it all in one swoop.
It's how crypto be cryptoing.
Crazy.
And on that note, we'll call it an episode. Thank you, dear listener, for tuning in this week. We hope that you found this useful. We certainly found you being here useful. We hope you have a great week. Make sure you leave a review. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Spotify. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.